Hello. Oop, lost my mouse. I'm so good at losing my mouse. Sorry. There we go. I can speak. Yay. All right. So, big stretch. All right. That's such a mom thing to do, to announce the big stretches, right? Oh, I'm looking at this and going, man, do I need to vacuum? So I'm trying to, I thought I had my camera all adjusted nicely. I'm a little scattered. Clearly, I'm a little scattered today, right? There we go. That works ish. So there we go. Today, I wanted to chat about things that will help make your crochet, or if you have knitting questions too, look a little more professional. We have a couple good mornings. Monica and Monique are both here. And oh, look, there's that's Nikki. Nikki! Oh my goodness, Nikki! It's so good to see you. Nikki is over on Instagram. That's what it's called, Instagram. It took me a minute to I'm like, wait, that's Nikki. That's Nikki. I know that's Nikki, because her name isn't Nikki on Instagram. It just took a minute to be positive that really was Nikki, and I wasn't just imagining things to make myself happy. All right. So, like I said, today we want to talk about things that will make your crochet look a little bit more professional. And I really should have I have this yarn here that's a huge. I'm thinking there was probably one that was in between that would have been a better one to have out, but oh well. So I will tell you a few things, but then you can also let me know in any of your comment sections what things you think make your crochet not look as good, or what bothers you about your crochet that you're like, oh, if I did this better, if my crochet didn't look like this, it would look more professional. You might not be able to know. It might not be like, oh, I need to block it. You might just be like, well, sometimes this section feels a little tighter than that section does, and this puffs up and that one doesn't. And when I'm switching from one stitch to another, even though I'm doing what the pattern says, it's not lying flat. Those are all, well, you need to block it usually. That's usually the answer to that one. And maybe you're not sure how to block things or whatever. So let me know. Some of your questions I will be able to answer right here, and others I will jot down so that, just like last week, I was jotting down things for throughout 2026, right? I want to make sure that the content I am putting out on Jessie at Home and on my YouTube and everything is content that you all want. So I know it said crochet because that tends to be where most of you go. But if you have other yarn, craft questions, concerns, whatever, let me know. Even if it's something that's really obscure, I might not spend a live on it, but there's no reason why, if you have some obscure question that some craft, if you have a null binding question, or actually I would probably do that on a live because it's yarny. But, if you have a question that you don't think I will do on a live, I might still do a YouTube video on it, or a blog post or whatever. Okay, Nikki says, don't pull knots too tight because it gives a funnel look. You learned that the hard way making stuffed stuff. A cone look, yes. Yeah, so when you're doing your starting your work, and you have the center pieces, like the what is that called? Magic circle. Thank you. Like your magic circle, sometimes depending on what you're making, if you pull it really tight, it makes everything look weird. You need to pay attention to those things. With something that you're going to stuff, obviously you don't want holes in it, right? So follow your pattern, pull it tight enough so that there's not a hole, but don't yank it so tight that everything just starts to really bunch up. But if you're making like a granny square or something, sometimes the pattern is written so that there is that little hole in the middle of the square. Okay. And if you pull it tight, it messes up the look of the whole square, which is one of the reasons I like to finish the square, or at least get a few rounds into the square before I weave in that first, the first tail, the one that will affect the pull of the center of the square, right? Because some of them you want to have a little bit open, some of them you want to pull all the way closed. So, and the other thing is, if you find, guys, if you find that if you pull your center all the way closed, everything gets kind of, it does that cone shape thing or whatever, you know, it gets funky. So you can't pull it all the way closed without making everything look weird, but you want it to be closed. Okay, this is one of the things I did with my my dice bags. I found, oh, hi Gabby. I found that when I was joining all of the triangles on, like some of them that have like the D20 dice, okay, the bag for that one, there are so many triangles that join together that where all those little points join, there was often a hole right there. And I didn't want to round out that hole by stitching over top of it. What I did was I let it be. And then when I was done, I went to the back of the work. So you can do this. If you have a square or something in that center, when you go to pull it tight, pulling it tight makes everything wonky. Don't pull it tight. Leave it as open as it needs to be. If it needs to be open, like, you know, half a centimeter, quarter of an inch, whatever. When you're done, flip it over, take that yarn end and just stitch like a little, you can do like what in embroidery is called a smear to knot, which is where you make like a plus and then an X. And that's, you know, that will kind of fill in on the inside. So when you turn it back over to the front, you don't necessarily have the hole. You don't see the hole so much. It's filled in, but you haven't gathered everything. So that is a really good way to deal with that. Let's see what else. We have lots of people saying hi. Hi, Sarah. So yeah, other things. Let's see. If you're not asking questions, I'm just going to give you some ideas as well. But I would really love to know what you want to work on, what you feel like makes your final creation. Like my final creations don't look professional. They you know, tell me what it is that's bugging you, and hopefully I can help you fix that. When you're putting a border on something, okay, so let's say you've made a cardigan, okay, and you want to put a little like shawl collar on it. So, you know, your cardigan, it opens up in the front, so it's just kind of like a U. Okay, imagine it's the opening is a U, right? So we go straight down, we go around the neck, straight down. And say your cardigan is white and you want to do like a blue collar, and it just looks weird when you put it on there, right? Because like where it's connecting gets a little weird because your cardigan was done back and forth like this, and then your collar goes around like this. Okay, well, what you want to do in a situation like that is the very first round, if your border is a different color than what you're putting the border onto, a good way to just really crisp up that line is to make the very first round of your border just a row of single crochet in the main color. So if you have that white cardigan that's stitched in rows this way, then you do the very first a row of single crochet around the edge of the cardigan in white, and then you start your border in your contrasting color. And what that does is it gives it a really nice, more crisp edge that way. Okay. If you want a super duper crisp edge, you can actually do crochet you can do that first row of the blue in the back loop only of those single crochets, or rather than doing that first row of the edging, the border as single crochet, do that first row of the border as half double crochet, And then in white, in the same color as your main color. So do your first row of your border in half double crochet, the same color as your main color. And then your next row where you change the color, put those stitches in that third loop of the half double crochet. You know, when you have the half double crochet, there's the 2 loops on top that you always have, but then on the back side of the half double crochet, there's that other little loop that you can work into, and it pops those front 2 loops forward to give like a chain look. If you have the first row of your border in half double crochet, that's the same color as whatever you're putting the border onto, and then the next row of your border is made in a different color, and you work those stitches into the third round, the third stitch, the back loop, third loop of your half double crochet, it pops that little, those front 2, it pops those top 2 loops into the front and gives that pretty little chain look around. So that gives you a real clean break between the 2 colors, a nice straight line, and it looks so clean and crisp and professional. And when you're putting that border on, another thing that sometimes people will say is when they're making something that's shaped, okay, so say you're making a sweater, okay, and it has this shaped neckline, some sort of top that has a shaped neckline, like my neckline right here, okay. So as you're doing this shaping, you know, it's not a beautiful, pretty curved edge usually, right? Because maybe you did rows this way, or maybe they went this way. I mean, maybe it did start in the neck and work out, and it is pretty, and that's great. But if it's something where the edges aren't like the actual top or bottom of a stitch, they're the sides of the stitches, it very often isn't nice and smooth. Well, again, what you can do is make it, you know, so it's a little more open than you need it to be. So maybe your edge if you wanted your neckline to be this open, maybe you make it initially with your neckline like this open or whatever, right? And then do a border round in the same color as the top, or at least if your top is multicolor, whatever the main color is, whatever is the most common color in there. And what you can do is start off on whatever stitch is kind of poking out the most and put a single crochet in it. And you're just going to kind of single crochet around. But then when you get to a stitch that's kind of popped in, you know, so it was like, oh, it was straight. It kind of went in a little bit. And then and I don't like the zigzagginess. It's not smooth. Well, then adjust the height of your stitches. So when you're making the border, you're going single, single, single. Oh, I need a half double here because that was too extreme of a change. So I'm going to put single, 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 half double, and then singles again. And look, that just smoothed out the curve a little bit. So play with the length of those stitches to even out that curved neckline if you have an issue with that. Okay. Let's see. Nikki said hers wasn't so much of a question as something that she sees often. Yes, and that's totally fine too. All right, so that's a good way to even out edges on things. Even them out by making a border where the very first row you adjust the length of each stitch in order to get a smoother line. And then if you're changing the color of the border, to first do a round or a row of the main color, the main item color, and then change the color. All right, let's see. What else? Anything else you guys want assistance on? Let me see. All right. Look at that. I love this name. Crochet Flambe joined. It like kind of rhymes, even though it's not in writing, in the letters, it doesn't rhyme, but Crochet Flambe, you say them the same. That's awesome because you don't actually say the T so much in crochet. Crochet Flambe. I love it. All right. What else do I see a lot? Like I said, not blocking. Sometimes that can make a huge difference. Okay. If you have a piece that's it just doesn't look as crisp. It looks kind of, some things don't always lay right. Try giving it a good blocking. Okay, Monica wants to say, no, What's the best way to join granny squares? Okay, well, I wouldn't necessarily say there's a best way. I think people have preferences. All right. And it depends on what look you're going for. And this is a post I definitely need to make. Hold on, let me write this down. Joining. Okay. So, and flat joins. All right. Flat joins, like a really quick and easy way to join granny squares is, of course, to just like sandwich them together and then single crochet or slip stitch or whatever. But that just, if you single crochet, when you open it up, it lays one way or the other, right? It's not really flat. Okay. If you want a good flat join, I have two kind of favorite flat joins. One is a really nice straight slip stitch flat join, which you can do in a contrasting color, or if like all your squares have the same color on the last round, you can always use that same color and it works really nicely. What you do is you lay your two granny squares face up. So you have your granny squares face up next to each other, right? And what you're going to do is you're going to slip stitch through the back loop of each of them. Okay, so you have granny square here and granny square here, and there's the front loop and the back loop and the front loop and the back loop. What you're going to do is you make a loop, slip knot that has the loop on it, right? And for the first stitch, you go ahead and you just put that loop underneath your crochet, or you can leave it on your hook too. Either way, you leave it on your hook and insert your hook through the back loop only of the first stitch of both of your granny squares. Okay, you're gonna have to decide which granny square you're gonna go through first. And if it's the one on the right, fine, it'll always be the one on the right. If it's the one on the left, fine, it'll always be the one on the left. It'll just lie flatter that way. Okay, so you go through the back loop only of the first loop on the right hand square, and then the back loop only of the first stitch on the left hand square, and then with the yarn underneath, yarn over, pull up a loop and pull it through everything. So pull it through those two back loops and the loop on your hook. And now you're just going to keep slip stitching through the back loop only. So you're going to go through the back loop only of the next stitch on your right hand square and the back loop only of the next stitch on your left hand square, yarn over, pull that through everything, and just keep doing that. And that's going to give a little chain in between your two granny squares, and it's going to lay flat. Okay, and so if it's in a contrasting color, it gives it a really pretty look, and if it's in the same color, then it just helps it blend a little better. Okay, so that is one of my two favorite. Both of my favorites involve slip stitching. My other favorite is the zigzag slip stitch join, which you start off by join to the top of the first stitch of your right hand square. It doesn't matter, guys, if you start with right or start with left, as long as you're consistent. Okay, and it's not even whether or not you're right-handed or left-handed. It's just, you just have to be consistent, because you're always going to have to deal with both of them. So you go through, in this case, when you're going through a stitch, you go through both top loops. So you go through both top loops of the first stitch on the right-hand square, and then you slip stitch through both top loops of the first stitch on the left-hand square, and then slip stitch through both loops of the next stitch on the right, then both loops of the next stitch on the left, and then the right, and then the left, and you just keep going back and forth, and it gives you this like zigzag zipper looking join that lays on top. And that's really fun to do in a contrasting color, and it's also fun to do in a regular color because it just gives it a little texture. So those are two joins that lay flat that are relatively easy to do. They do take a little bit of time. There's one that lays really nicely that takes for frickin' ever, which is harder to explain. But it's kind of, I'll just make a couple single crochets here so we can look at this. I don't think this hook is quite big enough, but that's fine. Here, I think I have a bigger hook. All right. So I just want to make a few stitches so we can actually look at them. All right, so here is one that I tend not to do because, oh my gosh, it takes forever. All right, so if you look inside your chains, you see this little inside, these are the top two loops, right? Here's your top loops of your stitch, but if you look inside, there's a perpendicular stitch right in here. And what people will do sometimes is they'll catch underneath that stitch, and then they'll go over to so they'll go underneath this perpendicular stitch inside the top loop of the first stitch here, and then they'll do the same thing for the second stitch on the joining square, and then go back and do that under the catch underneath that on the third stitch of this square, and then the fourth stitch of that, and fifth, and so on, back and forth. And then what you do is you pull that tight, and it butts these two sides up against each other, and they lay perfect and flat against each other, and it takes for frickin' ever, but it's gorgeous. So if you don't mind the time, you're just catching inside this little, you can see it in here, this little loop that is perpendicular inside in between your top two loops, and you're doing every other one going underneath it in a zigzag motion, so that when you then pull it tight, it butts those two pieces up against each other. Again, you have to be careful not to pull it too tight or you'll gather it. What I recommend doing for that one is you do that for like one granny square worth, and then you pull it and you get it laying like you pull it tight enough so they're lying against each other, but not so tight that they start to gather. If they start to gather, give them a little pull to loosen them up again, and then like secure it before you move on to the next one. And yes, Monique, for visual learners, are there videos? One of the points of this live today is to figure out what I should be making videos and posts for. So while right now you're getting a lot of verbal and very little visual, because I didn't know what you were going to ask ahead of time, I am writing down the things that are being asked so that I can, I know what you guys want to have posts and videos and such on throughout 2026. So don't get frustrated. I understand if it's frustrating when I am giving verbal explanations, and I'm feeling the frustration in my head too, going like, I want to show you all of this. But I will take these things, these questions you are asking, and turn them into tutorials where it is written. There are words, there are photos, and there are videos. Okay. So this is how I decide what tutorials to make. Okay. So even if you're not loving the way that I'm teaching on the fly right now, because it's not your learning method, ask the question so that I write it down and I make the tutorial that gives you every learning method I can think of, so that you will hopefully get it. And if you do something like Monica here is saying, I'm a visual learning teacher, I know that Monica and Monique are both visual learners, and I know they love having those tutorials. Okay. And I know there's a lot of us crocheters are visual learners. So for people who are visual learners, I have both the photos and the videos, because I know sometimes the oh, thank you, Monique. Sometimes the whatever I'm learning, I want the photo so I can like really look at it and be like, oh, okay, I see what's happening here. Or I just like, I need a quick reminder. And so if it's just like a series of photos, I can look at it and get the quick reminder and go, and I don't have to like fast forward through the video. And sometimes I want to watch the video and see how it's done. It depends on what the technique is, how well I know it, if I'm trying to learn it from go, or if I'm just trying to get a refresher. So I like to give you the photos and the videos, and of course the words. If it's something where I can give you a chart, I do my best to give you a chart as well. And that's something else I'm going to do, is talk about the charts, diagrams, crochet diagrams, how to read them and how they relate. I'm pretty sure I have some, tell me I have some graph paper. That is round graph paper. Oh, well, this is not necessarily graph paper, it's dotted graph paper, and that works. So let's look at this dotted graph paper, because this is a really fun one, okay? I love talking about how stitches, I know you can't see the graphs, don't worry, I need the graphs. I love talking about how the stitches relate in height to each other. Okay, so we have this graph paper here, all right, and so here is, and we're just going to kind of like give you some lines, okay? So here we go, graphs, lines that will show you the different heights. All right, so this is a single crochet. It can either be an X or a plus. It doesn't matter. Either one works for the chart of a single crochet. And that is actually, a single crochet actually fits into a square. Okay, so here is, I'm going to just make a little square and put a single crochet in it. Okay, so there you go. That's the single crochet sign is a plus. Okay, so here we have it in the square, and then below that we have it not in a square. Now, a half double crochet screws with everything, because a half double crochet is actually only 1.5 times the height of a single crochet. It is not twice the height. It is 1.5 times the height. Okay, so I'm just drawing that. All right, so if you look, it only takes up 1.5 squares vertically, 1 square horizontally. Okay, and that messes with everything. It messes with your counts. It's just 1.5 is annoying, right? Okay, so, and the symbol for that is like, basically it's a T. Okay, it's a line with the cross on the top. And when you make it, you yarn over once, you insert your hook in the next stitch, you yarn over, you pull up a loop, and then you yarn over, you pull through everything. Now, a double crochet, so the half double just kind of screws with everything. But the double crochet, it is twice the height of a single crochet, okay? And this is where things start getting really cool. So I'm drawing the symbol for a double crochet. So in the top, you're seeing the size of it, but because I'm outlining the square, but then in the bottom, you can see the symbol a little better. For the double crochet, the symbol is a T that is 2 squares high with a line through it. And when you make a double crochet, you yarn over once. Okay, there's one line going across that T. You yarn over once. You insert your hook into whatever the designated stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, and then yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Okay. Now, a treble crochet is 3 times the height of a single crochet. So it's 3 boxes tall, 1 box wide. And there are 2 lines across it. To make a treble crochet, you've got the T with 2 lines across it, right? To make a treble crochet, you yarn over twice. 2 lines, yarn over twice. Insert your hook into the designated stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, and then yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Okay, that's a treble crochet. A double treble, and now hopefully you're seeing this. You're seeing the pattern here. So a double treble is 4 times the height and has 3 lines across it. Okay, so to make the double treble, you start with the loop on your hook, you yarn, there's 3 lines across it, you yarn over 3 times. Insert your hook into the designated stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, and then yarn over, pull through 2, and repeat that until there's only 1 loop left on your hook. Okay, so you can see each time, with the exception of the half double, because it doesn't do the yarn over, pull through two, yarn over, pull through two. It does yarn over, pull through everything. Okay, so that half double kind of breaks the rule because it's not being finished the same way. But a single crochet is a square. And then every time you add a yarn over to it, it goes up in height one more square. So yarning over once makes it 2 times the height. Okay, because you added the yarn over. So that yarn over once makes it 2 times the height, as long as you finish that by doing yarn over, pull through two, yarn over, pull through two until you get to the top. If you yarn over twice, it makes it 3 times the height, because the original plus 2 more. If you yarn over 4 times, it makes it 5 times the height, because the original plus 4 more. If you yarn over 8 times, it's 9 times the height. So if you make a tall stitch where you yarn over 8 times, it's going to start off, here's the top, and then so there's the first, and then you yarn over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's 9 times the height, and we yarned over 8 times. So I'm going to draw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So, okay, guys, the lines across your stitch are the hash marks that are counting how many times you yarn over. That's all. That's all that is. Okay, so that stitch right there might have scared the crap out of you before, but now you can look at it and you can go, oh, okay, so this little top line, I start off with a loop on my hook, and then I yarn over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times, insert my hook into the designated stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, and now I just yarn over, pull through 2 over and over again until there's only 1 loop on my hook, 1 loop left on my hook. That's how you make that stitch. It doesn't matter if you know the name of it. That's how you make it. Okay, and because there's the 1 line on top and then the 8 lines across, you know that that is 9 squares tall. It is the ratio of the height to the width is 9 times 9 squares up, 1 square across. So if you're trying to draw things out to figure out if they're going to work mathematically, geometrically, that's how you do your geometry. All right, so there's a little bit. So I'm trying to make sure that I need to be attentive to that it fitting in the Instagram screen. All right, so those I know are only the, like, those are just the traditional stitches. They're not like stitch patterns ever, but that's a really easy way to do that. Can't figure out charts, just does not compute in my brain. Can you do a little tutorial breaking down winter? Absolutely, I definitely will. Okay, so that is on my list as well. Charts, tutorials. And you know what? Also, guys, any of these, remember, you can always email me. Really, really easy to remember email to use is Jessie@jessieathome.com. Okay, super simple. I am Jessie, so Jessie @ symbol, and what's my website? JessieAtHome.com. Jessie@JessieAtHome.com. You just have to remember Jessie is Jessie. That's how I spell it. Okay. Other people spell it other ways. Totally cool. All right. So that, email me there. And if there's a chart, if you're like, oh, could you break down this chart? Email it to me. Okay. I'm not necessarily going to break it down, and I'm not going to write the pattern off of the chart and email it back to you. But, you know, I might use that in my tutorial, or at least look at it, be like, oh, well, what's the real sticking point for you here? Because then I know what you need to learn. And if you email me a chart and you're like, I get it, except for this little area that I circled, could you help me? I usually can. The best way to give me an image is to email it to me. The best way to get an answer ASAP is to show up at the sit and stitch. The QR code that's at the top of this screen here, that is the QR code for tonight's sit and stitch. Tonight's sit and stitch is from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern time. It is currently 12:30 Eastern time. So 5.5 hours from now. Okay, our sit and stitches happen on the first 4 Wednesdays of every month. If there's 5 Wednesdays, the 5th Wednesday we usually have off. On occasion, I'm not around on a Wednesday, and then the sit and stitch won't happen. but most of the time it happens the first 4 Wednesdays of every month, and the times vary. So, but the best way to know is if you come to the Wednesday lives, I have the QR code usually that will show you, give you the link for it. And you can click it now. You don't have to worry that it's 5.5 hours from now. If you click that link now, it'll just give you the information you need, or take your email and then email it to you. But if you go to jessieathome.com, in the main navigation menu, which is across the top, if you're on a laptop or a desktop, and is here, I'll show you really quickly. We're going to share the screen, and I'm going to show you this screen. So if you go over to jessieathome.com, here is the main navigation menu. If you're on a mobile device and you don't see the main navigation menu, there's the hamburger menu, which are those 3 lines. They're usually on the top left, but there's those 3 lines that go across, right? And if you click on that, that will drop down the main navigation. And the last one on there says events. If you click on that, it will open up our event calendar. So here we are. It's just propagating. Here we go. Here we are on the 21st, and it tells you that right now we have the lunch with Jessie. Okay, and then from 6 to 8 Eastern is the live sit and stitch. Okay, but you can also click on it, and it gives you all this information. It tells you when. Here's the little link that you register here, with a little note that you will get the join link here if the meeting has already started. You can add it to your calendar: Google Calendar, iCalendar, Outlook 365, Outlook Live. And then here's more information. And this is the link written out. Okay. So you can do whatever works best for your organization, how you organize things. This is what you do. If you just want to cut and paste this link, cut and paste the link and then use it when the thing starts. Because if you click here, then it's going to ask you for your email. I give you my word, I lose those. Like, I don't mean I lose them accidentally. I mean, I don't keep them. All that giving that your email does is gives the system an email to send it to you. This is done through Zoom. Okay. So if I ever find out that Zoom is doing hinky things with your emails, which they aren't right now, and they never have, but if they ever start doing hinky things with your emails, I will no longer do a register. Okay. I'll just give you the link. But for now, I like to give you the register here. You can copy the link down here, but if you do the register here, what it does is it'll allow you to add it to your calendar. It will send you an email with a reminder and the link and all of that sort of stuff. So whatever works best for your organizing, do it. Okay. And the best way to get an answer ASAP is to come to those sit and stitches. Because it's on Zoom, there is the chat section. So if you want to be like, oh, I'm looking at this pattern, here's the link to it, and I can go to it and see it, great. If you have a question about a paid pattern, okay, a pattern you paid for that you have the PDF download, I ask you to only like cut and paste into the question area, into the chat area, just the part you have a question about. If you need a whole lot of help from me, you can always email me the PDF, because I will not use that pattern in any way other than to help you. It's like the same idea as me, like sitting next to you, looking at it and helping you along. I will be honest and ethical with other designers' patterns, because I want them to be honest and ethical with my patterns, and because I always just prefer to be an honest and ethical kind of person. It's just, it keeps me feeling good about the human being that I am. So, you know, if you need to send me something privately, I believe actually there is a way on Zoom where you can send a message to just one person. So you could do it that way. And if you know ahead of time what your question is going to be, like you're like, oh, I have this question about this thing that I want to talk to Jessie about at the sit and stitch tonight. What I really love is when you send me an email ahead of time and say, I'm going to ask you this question about this thing, and here is the link, and here is the photo, and here's like as much information you can give me about what your question is, so that when you come to the sit and stitch, I am totally prepared. I'm fine if you ask me a question and I have to answer it on the fly, but sometimes you're going to get such a better answer if you've given me all that prep work, because maybe I can make up a little sample and I can have the overhead camera set up and I can show you exactly how to do it. Okay. So, think about those things. Because the whole reason why, there are two main reasons why I have the sit and stitch, the first 4 Wednesdays of every month. The first reason is to get any of your questions or concerns about knit and crochet or any other crafty stuff answered. Answer your questions. And the second reason is mental health. Okay. Everyone's mental health, mine, yours, whatever, just having that human connection and people who you have, already from go, that you have something in common with them. All right. It's like I always told my kids when my daughter was like, I don't make friends very easily, and it was like halfway through high school. I mean, dude, when you get to college, you're going to make so many friends because you're going to be like people in the same major. And so you have the same interests. And so suddenly it's like you can talk to each other, right? Because you have the same interests. And you can talk in your strange little code of SC1 and DC2 together over here. And you can talk in your strange little code and everybody gets it. And it's great. And it's really good mental health. Okay. It's really good therapy to be in a group of people who get you. And so that's the other main reason why I have the live Zoom sit and stitches, is so that we have our community of people who all get each other. And you just, it feels good to be around those people. Okay. So not only do I want to be able to answer your questions, I want to help make you feel good about what you're doing. Community is important, especially now. Exactly. And like a couple of weeks ago, we had a member who had never flown on a plane before. And so we all gave her tips. Those of us who gave her tips on, what to expect and how to prep and, make sure that your shoes are easy to take on and off, and that sort of stuff. So yeah, obviously the first thing we're going to do is answer any questions. But if there aren't any questions, and somebody's just like, oh, I could use some advice on this, or, hey, you know what? I was thinking about this. What do you think? Or just, oh my gosh, guys, this really cute thing happened. Can I tell you a cute story? Well, sure. You know what? If we don't have any questions and we're all just knitting and crocheting and crafting away, and you have a fun story about like this cute little thing you saw in the grocery store, dude, we love to hear your fun story. Okay, go for it. So yeah, the sit and stitches, they're fun, and they're also the best way to get questions answered. And sometimes those questions you ask in a sit and stitch will inspire me to then make a video, a tutorial or whatever, because I realize that this is something that people need to learn. Like there are things that, to me, I learned to crochet when I was 9, and to knit. Well, I learned to knit first when I was 14, but didn't really stick. And then I did again at like 25 or 26. And I'm going to be 50 this year. Okay. So it all just comes. So like, it's all second nature to me at this point. It just makes sense. However, I can teach it pretty well. So, I don't always realize, oh, this is something people, because I've been doing it for so long, I'm like, oh, wait, this is something people don't just know to do. I should teach them that. If you tell me, I don't know, what's this thing you're doing? Or how do I fix this thing? Then I go, oh, you know what? This is something a lot of people need to learn. Like, to me, it's second nature, but that's because I've been doing this for 40 years or 25 years or whatever, So, yeah, ask the questions, come to the sit and stitches. Let me help you. Oh, you will be 15? No, it's 50. I will be 50. Oh, well, it's okay to say you look your age. If I'm 15, I'm not 15. I'm 50. Well, I'm not 50. I'm 49. But yeah, for some reason at H&H last year, like I used to all the time when I was in my 20s and 30s, people are like, you look like a teenager. What the hell? Like, people would freak out about my age. But then then I didn't get anything for the longest time. And then this last year when I was at H&H and I would say that I'm almost 50, I'm like, yeah, I'm 49. I'm going to be 50 next year. I had so many people like, you're what? But I'd also just lost a lot of weight. So I think losing the weight helped me look younger again. I used to look younger, and then I gained a bunch of weight because of my meds, and I'm finally starting to lose it. And now I'm looking younger again, apparently. So I'm cool with that. Really, the main problem is I still feel like in my brain, I still feel like I'm 21. In my body, I feel like I'm 101. In my brain, I feel like I'm 21. And then like I can't act the age I feel, because then people are like, what are you trying to be, a kid? And I'm like, but I feel like a kid. I'll be like hanging out, like I take my kid to Edge, and to Edge, New Jersey. And, we tend to hang out there on Mondays a lot. And they have like craft nights and everything. And a lot of the people there are in their 20s. And I forget that I'm not the same age as everybody. I'm like, right, I'm the old person here. I should maybe not act the same as the 20-year-olds. And it's not because I'm trying to be a poser. It's because that's just how my brain makes me feel. I love you too, Monique. All right, so guys, I'm not sure that, oops, we have a few more. Oh, look, Kyla is here. Hi, kiddo. I missed Kyla saying hi. She may have left by now. I'm not sure. It was a little while ago. Oh, Monica says her body betrays her all the time. My mind says, you can do it, no problem. Yeah, see, Monica gets me. Monica totally gets me. It's like, and I know, I love Monica in our sit and stitches and everything, because like, it's, if you close your eyes, even if you don't close your eyes, like she also looks very good for her age. That sounds like such an insult. You look good for your age, right? She looks a lot younger. But like Monica gives off the air of a much younger person than she is, but in a good way, not in an irresponsible psycho going to go dance on a bar kind of way. Although, you know what? There's nothing wrong with dancing on a bar if you're being responsible about it. Yeah, Monica definitely gives off the air of, like, she has a young vibe to her, and I love it. Monique, me too. Not as old as I say. I'm only as old as I say, not as I feel. So yeah, aging is weird, right? All right. Monica gets told to act her age. Never act your age, dude. That is the worst thing you could possibly do. Now, my parents were very young when I was born, so I have I have an impression of adults being youthful, because, my parents, when my brother was born, were 18 and 19, and when I was born were 20 and 21. Okay, so my parents, very young when I was born. I'm about to be 50, and my parents are, just in their early 70s. So yeah, I have an impression of adults being very youthful. And I still, like, I've been having, like, knowing that I'm going to be 50 this year, I've been having a real rough time wrapping my head around it, not because it's depressing, but because I'm like, how is this 50? Like, really? I mean, it's a few months away, and I don't think I'm going to suddenly start feeling a lot different than I do now. It's weird. But anyway, so now that we've totally derailed that, but my hair thinning really annoys me. Any other things we really want to learn? I know we definitely want to do, I want to talk about different ways to even out your edges, to give you really nice looking edges on various kinds of projects. We're going to talk about I'm going to do some tutorials and such on different kinds of joining, both joining like dimensional pieces like garments and such, and joining flat pieces like granny squares and such. We want to talk about charts and maybe do some breakdowns, like here's a chart, now let's break down how to follow it. And now here's a pattern, let's break down how to turn it into a chart. We can do some of that sort of stuff. So yeah, anything else that you can think of that you want to learn, let me know. And if you think of something later, just send me an email. Okay, again, it's Jessie@jessieathome.com. Super simple to send me an email. You can always reply to one of the whatchamacallits, one of the newsletters I do my best to send out every week. I need to be better. I would like to be better at that, and I will get better at it. You can reply to one of those, or you can just send me an email, Jessie@jessieathome.com. These are every single Wednesday at noon, unless it's, you know, a holiday or I'm out or whatever. But most of the time they happen, and it's on that calendar. And then, of course, there's the sit and stitches that are also on the calendar. So, you know, let me know when you have any questions or whatever. I think we're good here. There doesn't seem to be any more questions. Wait, there's one more comment. Let me pop back. Yarn subbing. Thank you. Okay, let me write that down. Yarn subbing. And we'll talk about a couple different things. Of course, I will always, always, always tell you to just go to yarnsub.com. YARNSUB.com. They have some, I'm sure it's some program that takes all, like they put the yarn in and put all the information in, and then it like goes through and gives, and it has a little you know, a little formula that lets you know what yarns work with what, but it just gives you the answers. It's awesome. That is my favorite way to find yarn subs, is yarnsub.com. But we will also, that's like my number one thing when somebody says, what do I do for yarn sub? But then we'll also talk about, I can, you know, talk about ways to just like find it within your stash or whatever. And sometimes if you're looking for something that's totally, it's like, I want to be able, with yarnsub.com, they're going to give you the closest possible things, right? But sometimes it's like, yeah, I want to find a sub for this 100% wool yarn, and I'm allergic to wool. Yarnsub.com isn't always going to give you, it won't usually give you the 100% acrylic suggestion or 100% cotton suggestion, because that's not a close match, because the fiber is off. So we'll talk about those sorts of things too. So if you're, you know, if you have an allergy issue, or if you're just, as Monica here says, trying to use my stash this year, right? So I'll try to talk about that yarn sub stash, you know, so I'll put that in there. And one thing I like to do with the stash is, a really good thing to do is to have, Twice Sheared Sheep has them and everything, the wraps per inch thing, where you wrap your yarn and see how many times, how many widths of your yarn fit in 1 inch. And that will help tell you the weight of your yarn, like worsted, whatever. So if you don't know what weight your yarn is, you do that to figure out the weight that it is. And then you can, that's like the jumping off point for what your yarn can, what you can do with your stash yarn. Is the first thing you need to know is what weight it is. Is it is it, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 is worsted, 4 is DK, 3 is sport, 2 is, 5 is worsted, 4 is DK, 3 is sport. No, I think maybe 4 is worsted. Oh my gosh, guys, my brain has gone kaplooey. I have it all written down. I will share you those things too. Those are actually, do I have it? I need to, 5 is bulky. Yeah. I was like, I'm off by 1. As soon as I got down, I was like, wait, no, I'm off by 1. 5 is bulky. 4 is worsted. 3 is DK. 2 is sport. 1 is fingering or lace. And then, yeah, so then going up, 4 is worsted, 5 is bulky, 6 is What comes after bulky? Oh, somebody tell me what's the name after bulky? It's jumbo, I think, maybe. And yeah, and but yeah, between comparing the number, the weight of the yarn, and the wraps per inch, that helps you a lot too. And there's a couple other things in there that help out as well. I'll get that all, we'll do a nice little yarn sub post to help you come up with those things. All right. Bulky, super bulky, and then jumbo. Okay. See, I was like, it's an S. It's an S. Super bulky. All right, guys. I'm gonna let you go. It is 12:55 here. So in 5 hours and 5 minutes, we will have our live sit and stitch. The QR code up there will take you. It will give you the link to the live sit and stitch. So hopefully I'll see a bunch of you in 5 hours and 5 minutes at 6 p.m. Eastern time in our live sit and stitch over on Zoom. So there is the link for you. I hope to see you there. It was wonderful seeing so many of you. And yeah, I will hopefully actually see you in person on the Zoom later this evening. All right. Bye, guys.